Dr. Sujata Mohan. I'm not actually introducing you all because we are quite stressed about the time, and she's going to give us her preferred practice guidelines for a big bubble versus manual dial. I wouldn't want you to interfere at all. I'm very conscious of the time. Just keep the timer on, please. Yes.
Thank you, Chitra, and thank you, Scientific Committee, for giving me this opportunity. So big bubble technique was popularized by Dr. Mohammed Anwar and involves injecting air in the deep stroma using a 27 gauge needle. This creates a separation of the posterior stroma from the descemex, and the pathological cornea is replaced where the descemex and the endothelium is retained. It has a steep learning curve, but the good visual outcome is as comparable to a PK. And the most great advantage is a low risk of rejection. So now, some of these conditions are common to both big bubble and manual DALC. So I'm not going into this. The advantage of DALC is it's an extraocular procedure, less intraocular complications. Donor tissue criteria is less stringent. So we are likely to get more tissue for DALC. So this is a case of an advanced keratoconus in which we did a big bubble DALC. The cornea was extremely thin, so I didn't do any superficial keratectomy. After doing a little bit of dissection of the 15 number blade, I've introduced a 30 gauge needle to form the big bubble. And once the big bubble comes, I think the whole process becomes very easy. It's very important that we decompress the eye and release the aqueous as much as possible before de-roofing the bubble. So once you de-roof, you get a nice space between the posterior stroma and the descemex, and then you can use a blunt-tipped varnish to make multiple cuts along the posterior stroma without damaging the descemex. It's very important, particularly when you go very close to the edge, to make sure that your varnish does not perforate the descemex. So this can be done very gently, and you can go all around and remove the bits of tissue that you have dissected, the small pies of tissue that you've dissected, and expose the descemex. Once you get the descemex, you can inject air into the anterior chamber, wash out the viscoelastic from the surface, and prepare your graft. Normally, I prefer a same size graft for a DALC, and you remove the endothelium from the graft, and you can suture it. So the most important thing is now what we have seen is a very shiny surface of the descemex membrane, which perhaps is going to give the best possible vision to the patient. And once this is done, you can see that the same size graft is being sutured, and the whole procedure is complete. So this is a post-operative picture of the same patient after about 3-4 days. So coming to the intraoperative problems that we can face are the perforation during trephination can happen, particularly in very thin corneas, very superficial trephination. You can actually get a type 2 bubble, as you can see in this picture, or when you're de-roofing the bubble, what I did, I punctured twice and I got the aqueous out. So actually what I did was I actually punctured the descemex. So these are some of the problems that you can face. But the most important thing is that whatever stage that we are in, we should try to avoid converting it into PK and try as much as possible to convert this and to find out the area of the bubble, retained bubble, and then go and complete the DALC. In this, you can see that I'm suturing the area of the perforation and completing the DALC as much as possible. So let's see what happens. This is a post-op 1 week. You can see the patient's doing well. This patient had a macular dystrophy and had severe photophobia. This is the area of the perforation. So this is again some of my patients, pre and post-op, advanced keratoconus, big bubble DALC. This is keratoconus with stromal dystrophy. This is the first patient's picture, the first patient. And this patient had, again, keratoconus with an advanced cone, and tried to get, she had a lot of scars on the cornea, though there was no, there was no hydrops, or no hydrop scar, but she had plenty of scarring on the cornea. It was very difficult to get a big bubble. So we continued with the manual dissection. The advantage of this this technique is that once you probably fine tune it, you'll find that the results are equally good. The most important thing is to go as close to the descemex as possible. You can see here that I'm injecting, but all the it's only producing an emphysema outside. Even after repeated injections, we got the same. Oh, I put only 1 minute. Okay, I'll move on to the discussion. So manual DALC, the problem is it increases the risk of inadvertent penetration. So depth of stromal dissection cannot be visualized during surgery, particularly when there is a scar. So Mellies introduced a 3-step surgical technique where you inject air into the anterior chamber to create an air endothelial interface. These are some of the studies which have shown the biomechanics in DALC, both in big bubble as well as in manual, are equal when they measure the corneal hysteresis and corneal resistance factor, and there is no disadvantage in manual DALC. And clinical results, when you compare with the manual DALC provides comparable results to big bubble. However, the faster visual recovery and better quality of vision is seen in big bubble DALC. So this is again a study which compared the visual acuity, and they found that the big bubble DALC had a significantly better best corrected visual acuity. So the visual outcome depends on the depth of the pre-Descemet's layer and whether it's smoother or regular and the surface is better. So this is a confocal microscopy. You can see the moderately hyperreflective homogeneous layer in a big bubble DALC, whereas in a pre-Descemetic DALC, it's a non-homogeneous layer. A lot of hyperreflectivity is seen, tissue edema. Therefore, the quality of vision in these patients will definitely be much less. So in conclusion, big bubble technique appears to be the best surgical approach to DALC. Manual dissection should be considered where there is an option to avoid conversion to PK. The surgical goal is to reach the Descemet's. An anterior lamellar keratoplasty in a descemal bed of less than 20 microns can achieve a result very similar to penetrating keratoplasty. So caveat is DALC is preferable to PK. Compromised visual acuity may be a bugbear in manual DALC. Reaching the Descemet's membrane is the ultimate goal. However, in patients with no endothelial disease, DALC should be the option over PK. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Dr. Sujata. I want one question with Dr. Rajesh, and I would want Dr. Sandbas to share the screen. If you get a small central type 1 bubble, how would you enlarge it without perforation, Dr. Rajesh?
Well, if you get a small central bubble and you want to further extend it, I think first you should do a paracentesis and release aqueous to lower the intraocular pressure so the counter pressure is minimized. And then you can go ahead and try injecting more air into the bubble. And if you feel that without too much of resistance, if your bubble can expand, you can then continue injecting air. But despite doing that, if you feel that there is still a lot of resistance, then one should refrain from further injection, because that means that that bubble has reached its limit. And if you continue injecting more air, you may end up rupturing it. So often you expose that bubble and then try and do a manual dissection to separate the residual stroma from the pre-Descemet's layer manually up to the edge of the trepanation.
Thank you very much. There are a lot more questions which could be asked. I think I'll take it on my ARC webinars. Thank you.